When we're talking about energy and fatigue, we're talking about your life force. And energy to me is the currency of health. And when it's depleted, everything else feels heavy. When our blood sugar rises and we have too much of a rise of glucose in our blood, we will then have a big crash because the body was like, I've got to get it out of the blood because it's dangerous. Inflammation is a big one because if our body is really overburdened with chemicals, our liver is working really hard and we're trying to make energy, but the body's also trying to detox. If you're living a lie and you're living a life that is a lie, you use a lot of fucking energy. So low energy is one of the most common complaints I hear from women that I work with. And I felt it too. I've been there, crashing on the weekends, just surviving on naps, feeling like you're constantly getting by or getting through the week and then needing to really nap on the weekend to catch up. But here's the truth. When we're talking about energy and fatigue, we're talking about your life force. And energy to me is the currency of health. And when it's depleted, everything else feels heavy. But when we're talking about energy, we're not just talking about how much you can do and how much you can get done in the day. We're talking about your relationship also with yourself and how you feel in your body and how others feel in your presence. So to look at energy, we've got to look at it from three perspectives. We've got to look at it through the lens of the biochemistry, the emotional, and the physical. And one of the things that I see is people will focus just on one area, like the physical or the biochemical or taking supplements, but then not looking at the emotional component. And if you're not tending to all three parts, there's an imbalance going on, which will still then create this fatigue and energy deficiency. So let's start with the biochemistry. I want you to ask yourself, how's your thyroid health? Are your vitamins and minerals levels what they need to be? Do you even know what they need to be? When you go to the GP and your doctor tests you, they don't actually test you for optimal levels of vitamins and minerals, and they often don't test for all of them. So there'll be lots of things that are not covered by Medicare that don't get missed, and they don't look at things from optimal ranges. They just look at reference ranges. There's a big difference between those two. And so do you actually know what your vitamins and mineral levels are, and are they in an optimal range? Are you eating in a way that fuels your body? How's your digestion? Are there any signs of inflammation or bloating? Are you sleeping deeply and constantly and waking up refreshed and having a really good night's sleep? Are you getting enough sunlight during the day, between the hours of 10 and 2? Are you hydrating each day? Are you drinking enough water? And is it actually staying in your cells? Is your blood sugar levels regulated and steady, or do you crash mid-morning or mid-afternoon? So all of these questions are really important to look at when we're looking at the biochemistry component. And so thyroid health is really important part of energy, and a lot of people's thyroid could be operating at a subclinical level. So it could be subclinically hypothyroid. It could also be hypothyroid, which is slow thyroid, or hyperthyroid. Both will affect our energy levels. Again, when you go to the GP, they will test part of your thyroid and they don't test the full panel, so they don't see what's really going on in terms of how your hormones are converting and what's going on. And so they look at it and go, hey, it's fine, which again is within that reference range, not within the optimal ranges. And so there's a big difference, okay? So sometimes your thyroid could be really struggling for a number of different reasons, and it doesn't even get looked at or detected, and you could be feeling really horrible and struggling and go, why do I feel so bad? Why is my energy so bad? And this could be one of the reasons that could be impacting it. Your thyroid is the foot on the accelerator. The other part is stress. And when we're really stressed and our adrenals are pumping out lots of cortisol, the adrenals are the brake. So when you put your foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time, what happens? You actually start to burn rubber and you burn out. And so this is what's happening in the body. There's this imbalance. It's a little bit like, imagine you've got a horse cart and you've got horses pulling a cart. One horse is trying to gallop, the other horse is trying to walk, and it just doesn't work. And so things in the body need to be in the same rhythm. They need to be going at the same pace. And if they're not, there is this exertion of energy that's used just to try and get things back into balance. And then there's a real struggle with the creation of energy. Are you eating in a way that fuels your body? So when we're talking about blood sugar levels, are you actually eating so your blood sugar is stable? Are you eating enough protein so that you're not getting these blood sugar spikes? When our blood sugar rises and we have too much of a rise of glucose in our blood, we will then have a big crash because the body was like, I've got to get it out of the blood because it's dangerous and it causes inflammation. And we need to store it, and sometimes it will go store it as fat because it can't utilize that energy, can't get it into the cell to make energy. We may be mildly insulin resistant, and there could be some metabolic dysfunction going on as well. And how's your digestion? So digestion, the gut is the root cause of inflammation. And is there any inflammation in your body? Are you experiencing symptoms like bloating or gas? Because these can also tell us that we're not absorbing the food that we're actually eating. So one, are we eating the right food? But two, also, are we absorbing what we're actually eating so we can actually utilize it correctly? A lot of people, I would say most people, don't have adequate levels of stomach acid. They don't make adequate levels of enzymes to actually break their food down, and they have real issues absorbing food. Now, when this happens, then it's like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Am I absorbing the nutrients? Is it because I'm malnourished and I don't have enough nutrients? Or is it I'm not getting enough food in? Often when we're depleted and we're really deficient, we then go and crave foods that aren't good for us because our body wants quick energy, such as sugar, and we'll reach for the foods that actually aren't serving us because we just need quick energy into our system. And so there's this perpetual cycle that keeps going. From a vitamins and minerals point of view, also, I need good levels of vitamins and minerals for my thyroid to function properly. So they all feed into each other. I also need good levels of vitamins and minerals to make adequate levels of stomach acid. So, for example, I need zinc. I need good levels of potassium. And for my thyroid, I need zinc, I need selenium, I need iodine, I need vitamin D, I need iron, I need tyrosine, which is an amino acid. So if we're not getting those in, it's going to be very hard. It's like you need the core ingredients to bake the cake for our body to function. To make energy in the cell, which is in the mitochondria, which is in the cells of our body, we need vitamins and minerals, particularly B vitamins. That's why they say B vitamins give you energy, because B vitamins are directly involved in the production of energy in your mitochondria, right? So we need lots of good levels of vitamin and minerals, but we also need to be able to get them into our body. We might be eating them, but we might not be absorbing them very well. The other thing is like looking at your sleep. Am I sleeping well? What's my sleep environment? All of these topics I've dived into more in other videos, but just to give you an idea, it's like what could be affecting my energy from this biochemical point of view. The other thing that a lot of people miss is getting good sunlight in, getting sunlight in adequate levels of vitamin D. The way that our cells communicate to each other is through light. We've been told this lie and sold this lie that the sun is bad for us, and it's actually not. We need good levels of UVB rays to make adequate levels of vitamin D, which is good for our immune function. But that is how the cells communicate. We need good levels of light. The cells need to communicate to each other. And also hydration. Am I getting enough water in? So that's trying to give you an idea of some of the things that could be affecting you from a biochemical point of view. Inflammation is a big one, because if our body is really overburdened with chemicals, our liver is working really hard and we're trying to make energy, but the body's also trying to detox, and it's just burdened and it's working really, really hard. And it uses a lot of energy to do that, to clear out the toxic load. It's trying to like mop up the mess, put lots of band-aids on things because there's things that are happening in the body that are causing damage. And when that inflammation response is happening, that uses a lot of energy in your body, right? Which you could be using for something else. So all of those factors kind of all add up, and they can really affect how our body's functioning. The next part is emotions. And so the emotional part of this is, and this is the piece that they will never talk to you about when you go and see your doctor and talk about stress, and not just here's take a pill. It's like, how am I? What's my relationship with myself? Am I connected to myself? And do I know how to feel my feelings? And one of the things that is my biggest gripe is what I see is people will go to the GP and be prescribed antidepressant. And actually it's like, if we're depressed, it's because we're actually making our feelings wrong and we don't know how to feel them and we're suppressing them. and we're judging the shit out of them and we're making them wrong. Okay, cool. Just take a tablet and that will suppress it more, which dissociates you and disconnects you from yourself. And often there's emotions here that need to be processed, but we haven't learned how to process them. And often we've been taught that it wasn't okay for us to process our emotions. It wasn't okay for us to show big emotions. That was demonstrated to us by our parents. And so here's some questions for you. Are you constantly in a state of alert or anxiety? Are you avoiding difficult emotions? Do you know how to process difficult emotions? Do you give yourself the space to process difficult emotions? Are you pretending you're fine and telling everyone you're fine when you're really not? Are you telling the truth to yourself? And do you feel disconnected or connected to your purpose and your values? Have you got a bigger purpose that you're working towards? And a lot of people also have that loss that I don't feel inspired by what I'm doing. I don't feel joy in what I'm doing. And there's this disconnect with how we're living our lives, which uses a lot of energy. The other thing I notice with clients I've worked with is sometimes they're not telling themselves the truth. And if you're living a lie, and you're living a life that is a lie, you use a lot of fucking energy. Like, you use energy to keep everyone else happy, do what other people are expecting you, what is not true for you. You use a lot of energy, like putting on a fake face. All of these parts of our emotional well-being are important, trying to keep it together. It just takes so much energy. I remember after my kidney surgery, I was exhausted. And I had a lot of exhaustion to recover from getting a kidney removed. But one of the deeper truths in that is I was very emotionally drained up until that point before my kidney tumor got discovered and it kind of exploded. I was in a relationship that didn't align with me. I was really unhappy. I was too afraid to leave, but I was also too afraid to face it. And I was gaslighting myself and my body couldn't carry that. I also had a lot of unprocessed trauma, like repressed anger that I had pushed down and hadn't processed. And that used so much energy. And I look back and go, I was really fucking exhausted before I even got sick. And I used to just have to take naps all the time on the weekend. I didn't want to socialize a lot of the time. Like, there was a lot of things in my life I look at and I can see now that I wasn't living in my truth. I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't listening to my heart. And I was carrying that around with me. And I was also carrying this really big weight of this unresolved grief and emotion and anger and rage that was sitting in my body and needed to be expressed. And that also uses a lot of energy. And so when we're not living alignment in our truth, our energy will be used up trying to just keep our head above water and keep ourselves afloat. And it starts with starting to go, okay, I've got to start to get a bit more honest with myself. I've got to be able to learn how to get into my body and feel what's here and not make that wrong. And one of the biggest things is we judge the shit out of ourselves and we make it wrong. And we make our emotions wrong and we push it down, and eventually it catches up on us and shows up as physical symptoms. And low energy is one of those, but then it becomes also more chronic, like what happened to me, where I got a tumor in my kidney and had to get my kidney removed. So it starts with radical self-honesty. At some point that's going to have to happen. And finally, the physical. So asking yourself these questions: are you moving your body every day? Are you breathing deeply and intentionally? Are you sitting in one position all day, like at a desk, which is completely unnatural and holding a lot of tension in your body? And what's your posture like? What's your spinal health like? All of those things. How are you breathing? How are you moving? How are you interacting with the world? And what's your environment like, which could also be affecting your energy. For example, if you're living in a house that's full of mold, you're living in an environment that's really toxic from a chemical perspective, looking at your environment, that could also be creating a disconnect with your energy. It could be an environment that's really toxic or heavy, and it could just be creating a little bit of a biochemical and emotional imbalance as well. But the physical, actual physical 3D reality of, okay, how is that affecting my energy? Am I getting out in nature and connecting with nature? Am I getting out in the sun? What's my physical environment like? And am I connecting, or am I keeping myself separate from nature? If you are feeling exhausted and you're still watching this, like, this is your invitation to stop pushing. Listen to what your body's really asking for. And if we don't listen to the whispers, eventually the whispers get louder and they turn into screams, until we have to listen, until we hit rock bottom, until we hit a crisis and we have to wake the hell up. right? Your energy is sacred. It is the universal currency of our health. If we don't have lots of energy, it's like, okay, well, how am I looking after myself? And look at those areas. Am I moving my body? Am I nourishing my body? Am I listening to my heart? Am I learning to create safety and moving through my emotions? Am I nourishing my body with what I need? Am I getting good sunlight? Am I getting good sleep? Am I looking after my nervous system? And so all of those things, but it's just one layer at a time. And so this might feel really overwhelming because I've mentioned a lot of different stuff, but it's like, okay, we also don't need to do it on our own. And so the way I work is actually, I have now created a support process that I wish I had have had when I first got sick and had my kidney tumor and was recovering, and I was looking for support and I didn't quite know what to do, how to do it. I didn't know what step to take. And I went and saw a naturopath, but I found it really hard because I didn't get much guidance. I didn't get much support. I kind of got told all this stuff, but I didn't really understand it. And so the way that I work is like, okay, a very different way of looking at, okay, we've got to teach people how to look after themselves, how to find their answers in themselves, one step at a time, and just know that you don't have to do it on your own. So if you're feeling really exhausted, this is your invitation to stop pushing, to stop listening, to listen to what your body's really asking for, to get curious, because our energy is sacred and you deserve to feel nourished and whole and alive, and you don't have to just be surviving to get through the day. And it's starting with one layer at a time, and it might feel really overwhelming with all the things I mentioned, but you also know that you don't have to do it on your own. So if this resonates and you would like more support, I will put a link below, which is a invitation to book in a free health assessment with me, which is like a 15-20 minute chat just to understand what's going on for you with your health and see if I'm the right person to help you, and we can go from there. And if I'm not, I'll point you in the right direction, but if I am, then I can share with you around how I work and what I do and the process in which I work. The process in how I work now, just so you know, also, I have designed it in mind with what I actually realized I needed after I got sick and had my kidney tumor, and it wasn't there for me. As far as I knew, it didn't exist. I needed to work on my emotional well-being, on my nervous system. I needed to also learn how to eat properly and heal my gut. There was a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I went to a naturopath, and the naturopath kind of gave me lots of things to do, but didn't give me enough guidance. I didn't have enough support. I didn't have enough accountability, and it was really hard. And it took me a long time to find the answers for what I was doing from lots of different aspects and resources. And so the way that I've worked is I put all of that together in terms of a program, and I treat people now and work with both one-on-one and with groups. So if it resonates and you're feeling it and you're feeling like what I've said really has spoken to you, book in for a session and let's have a conversation. I'll see you soon. Bye.